Welcome into another episode of the Laser Bros podcast. We're your hosts, Logan and Luke. Today, we'll be talking about some news that kind of broke this week in the NFL. I believe it was Wednesday or Tuesday, it was really busy with trades. I believe it was one of those 2 days. So we'll break that down. With the new league year starting, we'll give our free agency and trade predictions. Since the free agency class is kind of weak this year, we'll give also some trades because there are a lot of rumors circulating about certain players being moved to other teams. But before we do that, make sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, follow, and we also post our videos our stuff on Spotify. With that being said, Luke, the trades have been pretty massive this week, and I woke up to you one of the days kind of upset with one of the trades that has to do with our Chiefs. We talked about this last week with the Chiefs with Trey Smith and Thuney, and let's just start with that one.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll title it the Bears, but we'll talk about both the Bears and the Chiefs and the ramifications for this trade. I kind of know your initial thought of this trade when it kind of broke.
Yeah, I was obviously Joe Thuney to the Bears. Great for the Bears for a 2026 fourth. The Bears getting him and Jonah Jackson for a 6. I know Jonah Jackson's not on that same level, but I know they took a lot of cap. But I think from the Bears side, it's great. Get him his offensive line. This was my idea. I don't think they should go heavy O-line in the draft because you're just probably going to miss. So I'd rather go veteran, even I don't care how old they are. Good production. So I think, and they're setting up to run the ball well. So Bears side, they're doing great. Chiefs side, I fully understood you had to commit to one guard, get rid of the other. I don't think it's the right choice. I would have stuck with Joe Thuney. This dude was playing left tackle. He's played everywhere on the line. He's been in 6 Super Bowls, one of the healthiest linemen in NFL past 9 years. And I still think Trey Smith is really good guard. I just don't think he's going to be worth the highest paid guard. He's one of the worst penalized guards. I think Joe Thuney is really good, not great. And I think Joe Thuney is great. I think Trey Smith is really good, not great. And so even with the age, I get the age thing, but I disagree. I disagree on the move.
Yeah, I'm totally fine with the move. The Chiefs are always making moves for their long-term future, and this is another move where they have to do it. I think ideally the Chiefs not wish that they didn't have to pay Trey Smith, but I do think the plan all along was let Trey Smith walk in free agency and hope one of these offensive linemen that you drafted kind of develops and can fill that void. But we've kind of seen that, Samatia has kind of struggled. I do think he's more of a guard. I do think he'll slide into that left guard position where Joe Thuney used to be. Wanya Morris has struggled. I really think the plan initially was let's draft a couple of guards / tackles, hope that they can develop, and we can put them into the right guard position and let Trey Smith walk. But that just isn't the case. Those 2 players, I think that's kind of the worrisome side, is that those 2 players, especially Wanya Morris, I think he's going to be gone this offseason, but that they just haven't developed as quickly as the Chiefs would like. So I'm totally fine with the move. Joe Thuney, I think, great player. He brings Super Bowl pedigree to the Bears. He's played with Tom Brady, Mahomes. Now he's going to play with Caleb Williams. That is a pretty good, quarterback trio to play for during your career. We'll see how Caleb Williams pans out. But the thought process is Caleb Williams will be very good. It's, the Chiefs, the fact that they got a 2026 fourth, that was the only kind of perplexing thing to me. I don't know if that's because they don't value the mid-round talent in this year's draft, or are they potentially going to package that pick to trade up into the draft at some point in 2025 in this year's draft. As for the Bears, like you said, Joe Jackson, Joe Thuney, you now have the interior offensive line pretty much locked up, and that's going to help not only Caleb Williams, but as you stated, the run game. And I do think getting those 2 guards for the prices that they did of 2025 6th and 2026 4th-round pick, I do think that kind of opens up more avenues for that. I believe it's 12th overall pick or 10th overall pick or somewhere around there.
Mm-hmm.
So that they don't have to go necessarily a tackle there. I still think that they can go get Cam Robinson or a Ronnie Stanley off the free agency market as their left tackle and go draft somebody like Ashton Genty. I do think that possibility.
Mhm.
I've opened up to that more as a possibility because of these acquisitions.
No, yeah. If the Bears draft Ashton Genty, I'm just going to say I called it all along because I was talking about that early on. I do think they're not leaving day 2 without having taken a running back, in my opinion. I think they're coming away with at least one. I don't know all the picks that they have, but they're coming away with at least one.
They also have the Panthers second round. They also have the Panthers second round pick. Because
but do the Panthers have their second round? That trade was wild. They're coming away with the running back.
No, the Bears own the Panthers second round pick is what I'm saying.
But yeah, do the Panthers own the Bears?
No, the Bears, I believe, traded their own to Washington for Montez Sweat. I may be wrong. That may be last year's draft where they did that. I can look.
Well, last year's draft they only had 4 picks, but
that's true. Yeah,
look up the Bears picks. Look that up. But
they have the 39th and 41st pick. That the Bears have their own pick.
Okay, one of those first 3 picks is a running back. They're either going Genty, or then they're going to be going like Quishon Judkins, Henderson, maybe Hampton, maybe Caleb Johnson. Those would probably be I don't know if any other running back would go top 41, even though my boy DJ Giddens, K-State, Cats, had a fantastic pro day. But just with the Bears, I think I like what Ben Johnson's doing with them. And then I want to make one last point on the Chiefs. I think that you don't always need a plan. Like, look at the Bills. The Bills Super Bowl window, people were claiming was done. I think we know that's not the case. I think it would have been perfectly fine for the Chiefs to enhance their Super Bowl. Again, I believe there's a difference in the talent. If I'm wrong, then I'm wrong. But I believe it would have been better to enhance these next 2 years and then figure out the guard situation in 2028. Then commit long-term to Trey Smith at what could be 2 years from now. We're like, man, we wish he's good, but he's not what he's worth on the contract. That's just how I view that.
I think they have to look at long-term at this point because they kind of went all in this past offseason to go for the 3-peat. And now,
but they go long-term. There's already long-term. I mean, you have 2 young receivers.
This is the first offseason where I feel like they're actually kind of in a bind. Like the past off seasons where you had to move money around, either Mahomes is on a rookie contract or now his money is starting to ramp up these next few years, and you're also paying Chris Jones now top of the market money as position. I do think it's a no-brainer, not a no-brainer decision, but I do think train an older player, you get some value for him, you hope that Samatia or someone else can come in and develop as your left guard. Trey Smith is an up-and-coming player. He's only 25, and I know we disagree about the player, but I do think he's only 25. He's going to get better. I don't think this is the finished product he is. And you have him and Creed Humphrey for the foreseeable future. I'm totally fine with the move. And Chiefs, I don't know how much the Chiefs are going to be able to delve or dive into free agency this year. They just don't have the cap, and they're going to have to treat the draft. And Brett Veacham said they're treating the draft as their free agency, and they only have 6 draft picks. So I'm fine with what they did. I'm always under the process of build for long term. Never try not to go all in for 1 or 2 years.
I think
sustaining success and one team, and we also disagree about this team as well. But I've kind of talked about the 49ers in their Super Bowl window, and you're kind of seeing it come to fruition where they're having to shed cap space because
I think their whole team got hurt. That's different.
No, I'm not saying last year. I'm just saying now you're seeing them move off pieces. Like Adebo's gone, which I thought was the right decision. You may have to trade Brandon Ayuk, and they're thinking about paying Brock Purdy this offseason, which I wouldn't pay him this offseason. I would let it play out another offseason or another year and see how it plays out. But that's just my point. I'm totally fine with the Chiefs thinking about not just 2025, but also beyond. So I'm totally fine with the move.
I just think that always going for the future, I don't think that should be always the move. I think there should be exceptions. I think this would be exception for me because I truly think Joe Thuney is one of the top linemen in football. And I think Trey Smith's a pretty good lineman. It's just when you feel that differently about players, I'm going to sacrifice because here's the thing. Trey Smith, let's say we give him this contract. In 3 years, we could say, oh, we're going to go younger. We're moving off Trey Smith. And then you could have just kept Joe Thuney for 2 years and it would have been like a very similar. Like
I mean,
Trey Smith.
the flip side of that coin
Let's
is
say-
Joe Thuney can also you could also give Joe because Joe Thuney's entering the final year of his contract, so he's going to get extension with the Bears.
Yeah.
You same thing with Joe Thuney, older player. You give him a contract, and 2 years down the line, even like possibly 2026, he doesn't look like the same player. He's an aging
But that's
player.
what I'm saying. Give him a 2-year deal. Give him a 2-year deal.
But how much are you
Get a
paying a
second-
33-year-old guard?
I'm
Especially if you
I'm
think he's the best
paying-
guard.
What I'm paying him top guard money, and that's fine. I'm taking the shot that he's going to be good for 2 more years. The Chiefs did the same thing with Chris Jones. I think that worked out pretty well because that's the same concept where the thought was to trade him because he's older, and now this is 1 year. He's going to be. I think this is his last year on the Chiefs, but I still think that contract was worth it 100%. I mean, he may not be, but I think it's his last year on the Chiefs, and he's declined. I just haven't seen Joe Thuney decline at all. He's still at the peak of his powers, like very peak. He's playing left tackle for crying out loud.
No, I get. I'm not banging on him because he's playing a totally different position and played much better than any of the alternatives that she's had at that left.
But people are like that. Just shows how great he is, and he's old doing that. He's not a young guard doing that. He's old and he's doing that. I think he has multiple years of All-Pro left in him.
Yeah, I think it's just something that we're going to just disagree on. Let's move on to another piece of news. I think it's the same day as a Joe Thuney trade. DK Metcalf requested a trade out of Seattle. There have been rumors circulating that he was going to be moved from Seattle either this off. Well, he's entering the final year of his contract, so it would have to be this offseason. Usually when there's these type of rumors and the amount of rumors that we've been hearing, the player is going to be moved. What was your initial thoughts on the trade request? Did it catch you off guard? And, if Seattle moves off him, what do you see as their plan, for next season in the receiving corps? Because they also released Tyler Lockett as well.
Yeah. If you would have told me just this offseason he requests a trade, I'm like, okay, that's not surprising. But it happened like 10 minutes. It was announced like 10 minutes after Tyler Lockett announced he was cut. So that did surprise me because I thought at that point, okay, they're going DK JSN for at least 1 more year. And so I was not – I think that was pretty surprising in the moment. Like, whoa. I thought it was – so that's interesting what they're going to be doing. JSN, wide receiver 1, completely worthy of it. Was great last year. I still think DK's a 1. I saw that they want a first and a third. No way. That's
a second. I think that's where his value is, the appropriate value.
no, yeah, I don't. I mean, I don't think they'll get a first for him. And there's like a lot of receivers out there. Like Ayuk could be traded, as you said. There's not a lot of superstars, but I mean, T. Higgins, there's a possibility, even though I don't think Bengals let him do that. Even though I think they should. And a lot of stuff, I just don't think DK is the top dog. And I think he's a wide receiver 1, but he's not like who's better, Higgins or DK? Higgins, but Higgins also has injury.
I think Higgins is, yeah.
Yeah.
DK's more of a physical freak, but it's just like T. Higgins, I would like I've said about DK for a while. He's a body catcher, and I would take T. Higgins.
No, I would too, but I don't think there's a big gap in Higgins' injury stuff. I'd take Ayuk.
Would you take Ayuk?
Devont? Yeah.
I mean, he's coming off ACL injury. That's the only reason why I wanted to say.
But it's not like he's had it. I think he's fine, and he got hurt early. I'd still take Ayuk, the player, but you make it obviously trade what matters. And I mean, DK, it's gonna be interesting where he goes. Is he gonna be wide receiver 1? Is he gonna be a place where it's kind of co-wide receiver 1s? Like people talk about the Chargers. I think Ladd, if DK gets traded there, I think Ladd's still wide receiver 1.
Well, I would say DK, just because of his physical presence and the way you can use him. I think he's a
Ladd's better. Ladd's better.
The thing with Ladd is he was like, I don't know if you remember, he was banged up quite a bit last season.
He still was good.
I'm not saying that he wasn't good.
But okay, you say this, but you talk about JSN's like a top receiver. JSN weighs, they're the same height, and he's like 10 pounds heavier. Ladd McConkey could gain 10 pounds in an offseason, and boom, he's JSN. body.
I think DK would be like a 1A 1B situation there, in my opinion.
And I'd take Ladd as the 1A. He already has chemistry with Herbert. I think Ladd's so good. I think
DK, he's going to command $30 million annually on his next contract because he's wanting a new contract. It'll be his third contract in the NFL, so he'll be 27. I think the Chargers are kind of, and we'll talk about our predictions for free agency and trades. I think the Chargers are a great spot. Now, will they do it? I'm not too sure, but I can definitely see them giving up their first round pick.
I don't see them.
I don't know if it. Because the receiver, you're going to see a lot of receivers traded during this offseason because the draft class is just really not that great. Luther Burden is one of the top receivers. I don't know what Luther Burden is going to be. Honestly, there's a lot of question marks at that position. Tatori McMillan is probably the best one, but his stock's been falling since the combine.
Matthew Golden's like the one guy who is rising. A great 40-yard dash. A lot of the film people love Matthew Golden, and we're not film experts, but like you didn't really know much about Matthew Golden, so that's an interesting.
Yeah, Isaiah Bond actually got more hype than Matthew Golden did, like during the collegiate season.
Well, I don't think Isaiah Bond's.
I don't think Isaiah Bond's that good. I don't think he's that good.
Matthew Golden, I'm giving a shot.
Yeah, I will as well. But like I said, I think there's gonna be a lot of receivers being moved in DK. I do think he can help a lot of teams out as that physical receiver who can catch 50-50 balls. I do think that there is plenty of places for him. Chargers come to mind. Green Bay, we'll see. I don't know if the Seahawks are going to get their asking price. First and third is very rich.
No, that's not happening.
I think a second-round pick is more appropriate. Now, maybe if you get a first-round pick, I would expect the Seahawks to have to cough up a third or a fourth in return. But giving up a first and third is just way too much, in my opinion.
Yeah, no way.
One more piece of news before we get into our predictions. Trey Hendrickson yesterday was given permission to seek a trade by the Cincinnati Bengals, according to Adam Schefter. This comes after 2 years of failed negotiations with the team. He is entering his last year of the deal with no guaranteed money. I believe it's an $18 million cap hit in 2025 for the Bengals, and they can void all of it by trading or releasing him. I don't think it's the right move. I think that, Sam Hubbard retired earlier this week. That's one of your edge rushers. Trey Hendrickson's led the league in sacks the past 2 seasons with 35 total. This move really screams that they're going to commit signing a long-term deal with T. Higgins. That's the first thought that came into my head when I saw this.
I think they're going offense all the way again, So I think what happened was they were trying to keep all four, still deciding. And then, Max Crosby got 3 years. What did he get? 3 years,
It was 105
or something. 106. It's just like, I think at that point, it's like Trey Hendrickson's going to want 3 years, 107. And it's like, if you're going to pay a top quarterback, a top receiver, and a top DN, even saying trade Higgins, that's like 40% of your cap. And that's just really tough to do. And so I just don't think they could do it. I mean, that's why you got to sign. Like, imagine they signed Trey Hendrickson last offseason, like 3 years. Like, honestly, could have got below 30 a year. You could have got like 3 years, 85 for Trey Hendrickson.
Or if they signed Chase last offseason.
Oh, yeah, no. Sign people early if you know they're a stud. I mean, I know that there's like the Carson Wentz.
The Jamar Chase thing makes zero sense to me because you knew you were not going to let him walk. And CeeDee Lamb was up for a contract extension. Justin Jefferson was up for a contract extension. And you let both those guys get signed before Chase.
That's the thing with the edge rushers. You got Max Crosby. You got TJ Watt for an extension. You got Myles Garrett for extension. You got Hendrickson. I feel like there's one more who's up for an extension. I think there's one more edge rusher. I may be wrong. But you just have all these studs. And it's like they're just all going to get money. Oh, Micah Parsons. I mean, like, that's like 5 of the top 7 edge rushers in football. It's like, what? So I could see the last one who gets paid getting 40.
What, pass rusher? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, because let's say Hendrickson gets traded to, I don't know, who has a lot of money and can use edge rusher. Let's say Washington. Oh, that'd be good. And they pay him 35.7. And then you get TJ Watt gets his extension. And then Micah Parsons eventually signs with the Cowboys. And then Myles Garrett gets traded somewhere and gets $40 million a year. The edge rusher market is That's going to be a lot of money. But I just thought of a good one. Trey Hendrickson to Washington would be good.
Well, there was reports yesterday that Washington and Atlanta are both going after him.
Okay, I didn't even know that. Atlanta's cool. They need someone.
Yeah, I don't know. I think this is only to appease Joe Burrow because he's made it clear that he wants to play Chase and Higgins going forward.
I mean, yeah.
I think it is because if they were,
I think he wanted Hendrickson too. I know, but he's made it more clear that he wants, like even during the season, he wants Higgins back. Like Trey Hendrickson came back, his name came up during this offseason because he's entering the final year of his contract, and Burrow probably knows he's been negotiating a deal. But Higgins has always been the name that he's said, bring back Higgins. And You're
so
right.
I think this is just to make Burrow – you don't want – if they piss off Burrow and then Burrow requests a trade, you really have problems because then I guarantee if that happens, Jamar Chase may request a trade. And then
then you're just done. And if Joe Burrow requests a trade, the whole era of Bengals football of flinging it all over, which also I just think I don't think you invest in 2 receivers. They're going to have a combined $65 to $7 million if they sign both per year. I just think that, and when you already have a fantastic quarterback who's had chemistry with one of them since college, they should get rid of Higgins.
Yeah, I would tag in Trey Higgins. I would get a second-round pick from the Patriots,
like New England.
Go basically get and go invest in your offensive line and defense, especially defense. I think if and when they make this move with Hendrickson, most of their draft's going to be on the defensive side of the ball. And we talk about the Chiefs, they're throwing a bunch of picks at the offensive line. The Bengals have been even worse at drafting.
No, they're even worse. At least the Chiefs draft good interior linemen.
Yeah. I don't know if they've hit on one pick, offensive line wise. So I do think the Bengals are. They drafted the guy from Alabama. I mean, they cut him. I don't know. You signed Orlando Brown. That was a bad move. I just don't think they've invested well in that position. So, I don't know what the Bengals are going to do. I think they don't know what they're really doing, and I do think they're going to end up signing T. Higgins to a long-term extension. I do think that's what ends up happening.
Yeah, I just don't agree with it. Not we about though.
All right. Are you ready to move to our predictions? We each are going to give 5 predictions. We'll trade off one by one. We do not know each other's predictions. We don't even know the players. This is not really a formulated one like we did last year. So what is your first prediction for a signing/trade during the next 2 weeks?
So New England is getting a receiver no matter what, and either taking McMillan or signing someone or trading like they just are. So it's basically which guy. I'm going Brandon Ayuk. I think Brandon Ayuk. They tried to sign him last year. It didn't work. Ayuk probably didn't want to play. He didn't know the quarterback situation. But now we have Rabel. We know that Drake May, or at least all signs point to Drake May being a great quarterback. Niners, I think, are kind of they're shifting a lot, getting rid of cap, getting rid of players. I mean, I think they're going Juwan Jennings, Ricky Pearsall, which is interesting, but they've never really needed the superstar receivers a ton. So, I mean, Juwan Jennings was really good last year. Ricky Pearsall showed flashes in the few moments. He got shot, so he never had a chance last year, really. But yeah, Ayuk to New England.
Yeah, and that one makes sense because Ayuk is on a $30 million per year contract, and that kind of scaring some teams off because the amount of money they'll take on. And Patriots, you're not paying your quarterback, you're not paying really anybody. I think the only player you're really paying is Ramondre Stevenson, and I don't think he's even carrying that much of a hit on the cap. So I do think that one makes sense. It's gonna be interesting if the 49ers trade Ayuk and Debo in the same offseason. I think kind of shows you where their team is, and I don't agree with it. I don't think they should pay Brock Purdy, but I think that's kind of where these moves are kind of transitioning to open up space for Brock Purdy. My first one is Darnold to the Raiders. This one just kind of makes too much sense for me.
I had that too.
I don't think Minnesota's going to end up keeping him. I think they're going to shift to J.J. McCarthy, kind of let him take the reins. And I think the Raiders, I do think if they get Darnold, opens up a lot of stuff that they can do with the 6th pick. You can go get a jet. You can go get another weapon. You can go get offensive line. You can go get another defensive player to help Max Crosby and that side of the ball. Darnold to the Raiders makes a lot of sense for me. They have the weapons there. They signed, I believe, Alex Kappa earlier this week after Bengals cut him. I think they are. And to be honest, I'm not sure if Shedeur Sanders is worth the 6th pick, and Jackson Dart, that may be too rich as well. So I have Darnold to the Raiders. And remember, last time Pete Carroll took over a team, which was the Seahawks, they did sign Matt Flynn and then draft a quarterback, Russell Wilson. Now, it turned out that Russell Wilson, took over that job. He won that job the same offseason that they signed Flynn. So I could see the Raiders still drafting quarterback, even if they do sign Darnold, but maybe later in the draft.
Okay, well, that sucks. You took one of mine. I mean, oh, man, now I should just change it like Darnold to the Giants. But, yeah, I have Darnold to Vegas. So I think Tom Brady effect. So I'm just going to skip and I'll go to my next one. Because this is kind of a not big one, but because they don't re-sign Darnold, Vikings have some money. I think they re-signed Byron Murphy. I think that's their next biggest free agent. Just continue to build that defense. I feel like it kind of fell off near the end, but it had its moments. Just re-sign Byron Murphy. Not a flashy pick, but if Darnold doesn't stay, I think you have to keep Murphy.
Yeah, we talked about this player earlier. I have DK to the Chargers. I just think they're going to do it. Jordan Schultz reported that the Chargers were also going after DK last offseason, and they just never, could get a trade down. But I do think they're going to go after DK. I do think they want to get a physical receiver in there, and I don't think there's any receivers in his draft that give the same type of skill set as DK. And I'm really not high on any of these receivers, particularly in this draft. So I'm going to say DK to the Chargers. Kind of bring a Mike Williams vibe back to the team, but also, of course, he's better than Mike Williams, so he adds another dimension to that offense.
I don't think Chargers getting a receiver, but I think a lot of people are predicting that. I'm of the belief that John Harbaugh is more ground and pound, invested in like a tight end or something. But that's a popular pick. Next pick I got Ronnie Stanley. Can be probably the best lineman available now that Trey Smith is, unless something crazy happens, Trey Smith is a Chief. And I'm sticking with New England. New England investing a lot to help Drake May be a good player, trade for Ayuk, sign Ronnie Stanley. Maybe they spend that the pick number 3 on, if they still have that after you sign Stanley, trade for Ayuk. You could spend that on Mason Graham. Or you can go Travis Hunter and have him play corner mostly and still help at receiver. I think they're going to invest a lot of money. Mike Vrabel is going to push that.
Yeah, I have Ronnie Stanley going to the Bears. I kind of mentioned that earlier. I think they're not going to spend their first-round pick on a tackle. I think they're going to sign another veteran there. Rookie, you're going to have growing pains there at the left tackle position, so I don't think they're going to invest a top 12, top 10 pick into that position. And I think they're going to go, Ashton Genty or another skill position player at that pick. And I think they're going to fortify this offensive line with another veteran. So I have Ronnie Stanley to the Chicago Bears.
That's a lot of money. I don't hate it. That's just a lot of money.
You got quarterback on a rookie deal. It's fun. I'm totally fine with
that. That's bold. That's bold, but I like it. And then my last one, because all right, I had another one I was thinking of that I can do after this.
You can
Washington, they need defense. I was looking at top defensive players. You're not going to get a Nick Bolton or one of the linebackers. You have Bobby Wagner. Signed him to a 2-year deal, I believe. I feel like they need some secondary help. Travarius Ward, I think, would be good. He had a lot of stuff happen to last year that was unfortunate, and I know he said he just wants to get out of California because like the memories are just, it's really sad. But I think Washington could be a great place for him. Super Bowl contender. He's played in big games. Go and try to see what you could do with Washington, become their big offseason signing after trading Debo. I got Ward to Washington.
It's interesting. Lattimore and Ward, I think they're both slightly overrated players. I've always thought Ward was he kind of reminded me of Jerry Sneed a little bit, kind of handsy. He would be physical, but was he really that good? Was he as good as corners as people thought, or was that he was just physical and got away with penalties? Lattimore he was pretty bad this year when he played for Washington.
Mm-hmm.
So I do think that they need another corner. I'm not sure how I feel about that one. Kind of mixed bag feelings about that. I do think both those corners are generally overrated. So
they're still both good though. I think Lattimore was injured and rushing back and changing teams. So I still think Lattimore's good. I think it's just a weird circumstance. I think him and Lattimore and Ward, I don't think they're the best cornerback duo in the league, but I think they're one of the best. And I think that's two veterans, kind of a younger up front, but you have Bobby Wagner. I think that'd be good. Formulate the whole defense and really try to build an all-around team.
My next one, this one isn't like the most, I want to say star player. It's definitely not going to be, the front page of any breaking news. But I have Chris Godwin going to the Jacksonville Jaguars. He'll follow Liam Cohen there. And Jacksonville did trade Christian Kirk yesterday. I do think they need a slot receiver. And for me, I think his time in Tampa Bay is kind of done. And Jacksonville needs that slot receiver, and his connection with Liam Cohen was kind of the convincing point for me to make this prediction.
I like it. That's not what I expected. I would guess that he goes to Tampa, but if he doesn't go back to Tampa, Jaguars pretty good spot. He'd be obviously wide receiver 2. Yeah, stays in state, wide receiver 2, same offensive play caller from last year. He's not wide receiver 1. He's Brian Thomas for that. That's good. That's probably my favorite. That's I think the best one because that's not just like obviously I like Darnold to Raiders as a good move for both sides, but that's creative and good. And since you took that one, and I need one more, I feel like this one's super obvious. Just Joey Bosa to the Niners. They're cutting people. Yeah. He's a free agent now. Chargers got rid of him, I think wisely, but just him get with Nick Bosa. If Joey can bring back some of what made him great, then you have these two brothers. And I just think that's obvious. I don't think you need to break that down much.
Yeah, this next one, I don't know how you're going to feel about this one. It's my last one. Najee Harris to the Bears. I think that Ben Johnson's going to bring Dave Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs back. I think it's going to be Ashton Jeanty and Najee Harris in that backfield. And I don't think they have to invest that much in Najee Harris. It's definitely the least favorite on my list, but I do think that they'll try bringing Dave Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs fit into this offense with Ben Johnson.
I mean, if you can get him for cheap, but
I think it's cheap.
Trying to look at the available running backs.
Or you go get Nick Chubb if you really want it. If that's like something.
I'd rather just take a shot that Nick Chubb has more time off. That's what I'd rather do. Oh, man, JK's not a big pounding running back. I'd rather get Rico Dowdle. He got 1,000 yards. He can do some stuff. But I mean, I get what you're coming from, but yeah, I don't love it, but I get where you're coming from there.
And we didn't bring up his name, but where do you see Devontae Adams going? I'm surprised we didn't have
Chargers.
Neither of us had.
That's my Chargers.
Chargers, okay. I would.
Chargers
I 49ers, but at the same time, it's just I don't think. I just don't know if they're gonna do that. If they're gonna Devontae, Juwan, and Ricky Pearsall, I just don't know. I don't know how I feel. That's the only team that really comes up to me that kind of makes a contending team.
I like Chargers.
See, I'm surprised you said Chargers because we've kind of talked about this.
I don't think Devontae is costing you 30.
Well, that's true. Yeah.
I don't know what he's going to cost. Let's say Aaron Rodgers is out of the picture. That's it. Devontae's an interesting free agent because he's kind of just attached himself to Rodgers and Carr past couple of years.
I think I literally think it'd be 1 year, 17.5. I really don't think he's going to be.
I go 20.
He's an older player. He's not going to get a $30 million. He won't get a $25 million. No. He'll be low 20s, high teens, probably for a year.
Yeah. I think he's such an interesting free agent. I hope he doesn't just follow Rodgers because that's
really
boring.
Messed up his career. He messed up his career following his friends. And both his friends, Derek Carr is not that great of a quarterback, and at this point of his career, Aaron Rodgers isn't that good of a quarterback. He shows flashes at times of still the young Aaron Rodgers, but he needs to stop following wherever his friends are. It's and then you complain, and then you get cut, and then
I think he just needs to be like, hey, I'm an all timer. Like maybe not my stats don't get to it fully, but I'm up there. So
any possibility he goes back to Green Bay?
I think so. I don't think that'll happen, but I think it's possible.
Yeah, like I said, there's a lot of older players on the market. Like Cooper Kupp's another one. I don't know where he goes. Washington kind of filled that void. Debo. Bengals were like a popular shop for Cooper Kupp, but I think they're going to keep Higgins, so I don't know if he's going there. Denver kind of makes sense. I don't think the Chargers doing that. I think they need another element in that offense. Like Quinn Johnston's not that good. You kind of need an outside receiver. I just don't think Cooper Kupp's an outside guy. Possibly the Bills, but they pay Shakir. I don't think that really makes sense. I do not know where Cooper Kupp lands at this point. I don't think he's going to get traded. I think he ends up getting cut because they can't find a trade partner. Like, could he go to Green Bay? Maybe.
Niners
make a little bit of sense. Cooper Kupp's the one where if you asked me a couple weeks ago, I'd be pretty confident of where he's going to go. But at this point, I don't know. I mean, he said what day was it that he said they wanted to trade him? Was that early in February?
Yeah, it was early.
And like they still haven't found anybody. So I think Cooper Kupp's a bit interesting at this point where he's going to land. And I don't think, like I said, I don't think he's going to be traded because I don't think anybody's going to be taking on that contract and giving up draft capital for an aging receiver. It's definitely lost a step or two.
Do you have a Nick Bolton spot?
See, initially I thought Chiefs were going to keep him, but I just don't think it's going to happen.
I don't think so either.
I would say Denver. They kind of need a linebacker. Cincinnati, I still think they'll pay. Denver's probably the name for me or Washington. Maybe Washington pairs him and Bobby Wagner. Even though I'm not sure about that.
I could see Denver.
Yeah, Denver makes sense to me. Could the Rams do it? I don't know. Like, I'm just trying to think of teams that need a linebacker. I do think Nick Bolton's Rams would be interesting.
That's a good fit. I just don't know if they had the money.
Yeah. For whatever reason, he does feel like a Detroit Lion, but I just think
they have linebackers.
Yeah, that too. So maybe Green Bay, but I like I said, some of these teams I'm naming don't really spend. They're not aggressive on the market. And I do think Nick Bolton's going to get paid. He'll be one of the league's highest paid linebackers, I think. So I still don't know if they're going to be aggressive enough. But yeah, I mean, free agency this year it's much different. That's why we're seeing a lot of trades and draft week as well at certain positions. It's going to be an interesting offseason. I'm very curious to see where players. We have about 5 days until new league year. I do think it's going to be intriguing where some of these players land. I think there's going to be a lot of shocking moves as well, because sometimes you see moves like, oh, that's pretty calculated, but like I don't know. There's a lot of moving parts this offseason. Were there any other names that we didn't really talk about that you want to kind of address?
No, I think that was good. I think Eagles will have some interesting decisions. Milton Williams, Josh Sweat. They cut Slay. Slay is going to go to the Lions. I think that's a lock.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see with the Eagles. That's probably the team I'm looking at the most. Who are they keeping? Are they going to try to do something crazy?
They re-signed Zach Bond.
No, I did not expect that.
Like, they're paying a lot of players. It just kind of shows how well they've been at drafting. Because if they haven't been hitting some of their picks, I don't think they're making some of these moves. Spending so much money on some of these players. I mean, they're paying AJ Brown, they're paying Saquon, they're paying Hurts, they're paying Devontae Smith. You're paying Lane Johnson, I believe. Like, you're paying a lot of players.
Landon Dickinson. Yeah. That I think Milton and Josh Sweat each get paid big somewhere else.
Oh, for sure. Anything else before we close out today's episode?
No, I think that's good.
All right. Well, as I said, make sure to subscribe to the video. the video, subscribe to the channel, like the video. We'll be back next week with, I believe, a mock draft, unless, if Luke thinks that's too early. But I do think we have not done mock draft yet. So, and free agency will be taking shape. So I would like to do a mock draft next week, and then we'll probably do March Madness stuff, NBA stuff the following week. But until then, like the video, subscribe to the channel.
Peace.